Hmm. Hello everyone, am I visible and audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah, thanks Surindam. So, good evening everyone. I welcome you all to the second day of WebLeads 2.2. Yesterday we had a session of WebLeads and we got to know about basic HTML and everything. So, we'll be starting off from there. Today we will be covering the CSS. So, wait, let me share my screen. Hmm. Olindam, is my screen visible?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, alright. So guys, see, this is a basic HTML page that I just coded, and we will look into the CSS in respect to this page. So that's a basic HTML page with like some h1 tags, paragraph tag, image, few buttons, and h2 tags. All right. So let's get deep diving into that. So first of all, we need to check like how we can link or use CSS for any website or HTML page that we create. So there are actually three ways to link a CSS file. The first way is like you can use the inline CSS. Like I have this h1 tag, I can just write the style here, and then I can specify for say font size to be 30 pixels, and I will just see the changes with respect to that here. So this is one way that we can use the inline CSS by writing the style thing in the HTML tag itself. Alright, so there's another way that we can specify the style tag in the head of our HTML file. Just remove it for now. So in the head, we can just declare one style tag, and now we can just write all our CSS code with respect to this inside this style tag. For example, all right, so first of all we need to know what are the selectors we need to use for the CSS. So we can write in this style tag using the selectors, and one more way using one external CSS file. Like for this practice.html file that I created, I have written one more file that I've named it style.css. So if we are not using this style tag in the head, then we can use another way, that's using the link tag. We will write link, there's the relation with the style sheet, and then we have to give the reference that where that external style sheet would be. So for this part, I will be using the external style sheet only, and here I will link it style.css. So now my CSS file is linked with the HTML file, and whatever code I write for the CSS in this file, then we can see the changes in the browser for this page. So let's get started with the CSS. In the CSS, whatever properties you want to change or define, you need to do that using selectors. The what are selectors? They're basically rules set for defining the properties. The first selector that we will be getting to know, that's the universal selector. That's you can using the asterisk sign, and then we will use this curly braces, and then inside this whatever code we will write, it will be means implemented for the whole of the document. Like whatever we have written in the document, the whole thing, one CSS property will be applied on that if we use this universal tag. So for example, I can just give font family as one of the property to be Lucida Sans, for example, and then we can see that yes, the whole of the font style has been changed in the whole of the document, whether it is the button, the H2 tag, the paragraph tags, or the H1 tags. Do we have any doubts? If you have any doubts, then you can write in the chat box. Oh yeah, sort of. Yeah, you wanted it right. All right. I guess now the site should be visible properly. Yeah. All right. So we can proceed if you no one has any doubts. So this was the universal selectors. Then we have few more kinds of selectors. We call them the element selectors. Like this HTML body tag. This body as a whole is an element, and if we want to style it, then we will just write the body tag. I'm sorry. Yeah. And for that, if we make any changes, it will be like reflected in the whole of the body. For example, we will cover the basic properties in respect to the CSS, like the background color. I would say I would give the background color as blue. Then in the whole of the document, we can see that yes, it has been converted in the blue color background, right? So that's way the elemental tags work. And let's just look into some of the basic properties we'll be dealing in the CSS. I would say that the background color is one of the property. Next, that would be the color tag. Like we are using the blue for the background, will change after a bit. Then I guess the white contrast will be a good one. So if I write it as white, then the whole of the document's text has been changed to white color. All right. So this is another basic property of CSS. Then there will be text aligns, there will be many more things. There will be height and width, there will be paddings, and many more. For the colors, what we are using, we can define the colors in few more ways. Like here we have written the names of common colors. We can also write the colors using RGB values. The red, green, blue ratio, if we define it, then it will work like that. We write the RGB, then we give the first bracket. Inside that we need to give 3 comma separated values for the red, green and blue. If we just give it as 0, 0 and 0, then we can see it has been given a whole of black. On the other hand, if we give it a maximum value of 255, 255 and 255, sorry, yeah, then this is a whole of the white color background. All right. So this is another way of using RGB color, and another way of using colors, that would be the hex colors. The hex colors, or we define them using the hash symbols, and then we write a 6-digit or a 3-digit code using letters in hexadecimal form. Now, the hexadecimal form letters, as we know, if you're familiar with that, it starts from 0, goes all the way to 9, and then again from A to F. So a total of 15, and then there are 5 ones. Means 5 letters we can define using that. For example, if we write white, or in the RGB we can write this 255, 255, 255. On the hex colors, we can write hash F F F F F 6 times. Then they correspond to the same color in this document, as we can see. All right. Sorry, I just forgot to say it. It's just everything same, and background color is white, so we cannot see the text actually. As I've also made the text color white. So as of now, this is about the basic body tag. We are having few more tags here, and we can write styles for individual tags. We use the elemental tags for these ones. Like if I just define it for para tag p, I'll give it say a font size. Another one of the basic properties, I can give it either as in pixels, as I would say 10 pixels font size. And I will uh, go back. Wait, body color HTML. Why is it not getting? Went it out. So we were having two paragraph tags in our document, right? This one is the first paragraph tag we were having, and this one is the second paragraph tag we were having. So both got a font size of 10 when we use this one. The font size for the para tag, the elemental selector. Yeah. So this was for the elemental tags. Like if we use any elemental tag multiple times in a document and we write it in the style.css, like the CSS file and the CSS linking, if we write it, then it will be applied for all of the instances in wherever we use this element. How many times we use uh, this p tag, the para tag in our document, it doesn't matter. It will be same uh, style for every case. So that could be a problem. Like we want only this one paragraph to have a specific style, and then this one paragraph to have a different style. Then we need to have something else, right? We cannot have that elemental selector have one style for everything. So in this point, there comes the classes and the IDs. Before we go into classes and IDs, I again want to ask, if anyone has any doubt, you can write in the chat box. Does anyone have any sort of doubt up to what we have covered until now? If you have any sorts of doubt, you if have any sorts of question you want to ask, you can just write in the chat box. We'll respond to that. Well, I guess no one has any doubt as of now. So, all right, we'll proceed forward to see how classes and IDs work. Classes and IDs are basically rule sets for defining styles only. We'll just remove them for now. All right. So before we get into like doing work with classes and IDs, you would notice that classes and IDs, moreover, they may seem similar. Like here, for this para, I have this class of para1. So I would need to use the selector, means to use the selector para1. First of all, I would need to write this one dot or full stop, whatever we say, followed by the class name. But in our case, it will be para1, and then inside the curly braces, whatever style I use, like font size, if I give 20 pixels, then 20 pixels will be applied only for this paragraph. Like here we can see this has the basic default color, sorry, the default size, and here the font size has been changed to 20 pixels. So this is the way we work with classes. Also, like I have this IDs for buttons. We have two buttons in our file at the bottommost position. So we have defining it with IDs. Let's say for this first button, I want to have a red background with a white text on it. I need to write it using this hash and then followed by the ID name, button 1. And here I need to define whatever style I want it for. In my case, as the background color, I would use red, and the text color, I want let it be white. So here, as we can see, this one button got changed. Now it has a background of red color and a text of white color. So it may seem that the classes and the IDs. Wait, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry, guys. So let's continue. So at first instance, it may seem that the IDs and the classes are like more or less the same. I would say yes, they are more or less the same. But what's the biggest difference is that you can use one class name any number of times you want in this document, and for that, whatever style you write in this CSS file or wherever you are using the CSS, it will apply. But for the ID, you can use an ID only once. You cannot use an ID means multiple instances in a single file. Like I have written this ID button 1 in this document here, so I cannot use the ID button 1 anywhere else in this document. But here I have used the the class para1 for this paragraph. So I can use this same class for any other element, whether it be paragraph or some other heading tag or anything else. I can use this class para1 multiple number of times. But for this button 1 ID, I can not use it anywhere else in this document. So that is a very important difference between buttons and means IDs and classes. Now you may be also thinking like let's say, oh, also one addition, you can use multiple number of classes and multiple number of IDs for the same element. Like here I've used this ID for button 1. I can also write one class here, let's say btn1 class. Also I can write another class here, let's say bt1. So this way we can write multiple we can define multiple classes for one element, and we can give different styles. Like I can be using this button1 class somewhere else and this bt1 class somewhere else also, and I want these two styles to be in this button element, so I can just write the class and the ID. So at this instant, it may seem that like I am writing one style for class btn1. I'll just give an example. Like for btn1, I just say I want a background color of blue with a text color of, let's say, aqua. And here I'm writing another ID with a background color of red and a text color of white. So that's a conflict, right? For that same one element button, I'm defining multiple properties using one class and one ID. So here specificity comes to play. What is specificity? That's a very important concept also. Like how much specific you can be regards to the style of one element. So here in specificity there is an order, like the IDs are the most specific selectors, then we have those classes, and the least specific ones are the universal selectors and the elemental selectors. Like if I define another thing for this button tag, like the basic button, I would give a background color of let's say green, and here I would give a color of beige. So I'm defining three different properties for one single button using the elemental button selector, the background color of green and a color of beige. Then using the class btn1, a background color of blue and a color of aqua, and using the ID, a background color of red and a color of white. So what will be at the end rendered? Let's get to see that. Did I miss something? No. So for the button tag, we had that background color green and the color beige. So it should be applied to both button, we feel, right? For the second button, it has applied. But for the first button, here we can see, let me just zoom in a bit. So here for the first button, we are still having that red background and a white text. Though for the second button, the button uh, selector we used with the color of green and the white one, it got applied. So here we got to know that the IDs are the most specific ones, and the elemental ones and the universal selector that we use using the asterisk, that's the least specific ones. Also, like I have written one instance of btn1 class here. I again want to, like, if I write the btn1 class defining here again, and I'm writing the same properties, the background, but I changed it this time. For example, yeah, the blue violet, I give the background color, and color of, let's say, azure. I'm just commenting out this button tag for now. So here we can see that the blue violet background we have on the our button one, and this azure text on as the color of font. Why is it so? So it's basically that if we are defining the same properties for the same class or ID or element multiple times in a single document, then the last instance will be rendered. Here, this btn1 is the last instance, so this is being rendered, and this has been overwritten, so this is not being rendered. So up to this, do we have any doubts? If you have any sorts of queries you want to ask, you can just use the chat box. Yeah, so Partha Pratim Chaudhary. Yeah, thanks Saurabh for resolving his issue. If you have any more doubts, you can use the chat box now. So let's get proceed forward. Next, we will be dealing with the inheritance. We have done with the specificity. Now let's go with the inheritance. So what is inheritance? let's see here. Here we can see, right, that we have one div with the div class of div2, and here we have one paragraph element inside of this, right? So if we define one property for div this div or this div class of div2, and the same property like this para tag uses, and we are not being specific to any more changes for this para tag, then the property we write in this parent element, and this is like if you're writing one element nested inside another element, then the element which is being written inside another element, this para tag for in this instance, it will be the child, and this div with the class of div2 is the parent element. So let's just see. For the para one, we have had something, but for para two, we don't have anything specific written as of now. So for this div with the class of div2, if I write here, let's say one color I want to give, what would be indigo color. I've given that color for the div2. What happened? Why isn't it working? Div class div2 color indigo. Here any problem, or I can just, so I guess there's a problem on my side. Yeah, I'm color indigo, and here I'm using this color, let's say beige. Yeah, so now it's working. So here we can see that I defined this property, the background color indigo and the color beige, for this div2, class div2 of this div tag, not specifically for this paragraph tag here, but still that property got rendered, and here we can see this thing rendered as the indigo background and beige color text for this paragraph. All right, I'll just get it back to 100%. So this is what inheritance means. If you're not being specific about this para tag, like the nested children, if they don't have anything specific defined for them, then they inherit what there is for the parent. If a class doesn't have like this h1 class or this paragraph, it may seem that it doesn't have a parent, then the body and the whole of the HTML document becomes its parents. There are many more properties, basic properties for HTML. For example, let's just do something for this h1. I'll just get down, and here for this h1, let's have this text align property. If we use the, we have different things, like you need to try everything, we cannot show everything in one session. So if we use this text align center, then this h1 will be at the center. Then there is some more thing, we can use this font weight. Here we can like define whether it is to be bold, or it is to be normal, or it is to be light. Then we have this font size option. Here we can define. All right, So let's have something about the units that we will be using. So as of now, I have written all those font size in pixels, right? For example, I can write it as 50 pixels here, and it will be rendered in this size. But pixel is not the only unit here that we'll be using in the CSS. There are a lot more units. Means most units are used a bit less. Like we have the centimeter, we have inches, we have millimeters, but they are not used quite a bit. But we have two units which are used a lot. So one is the ems and another is the rem. So what are ems and rems? Basically, they are the size properties for the parent element, and the rem is the size property for the root element, right? For the whole HTML. So usually, like the HTML has a font size defined as 16 pixels. So if we write it as one rem, then this is the size of 16 pixels here. All right, we can just see that by replacing here 16 pixels. It is not changing any bit. So usually the default font size for the HTML thing is 16 pixels, and if we use the rem, means the rem unit, then in respect to that, if we are using two rems, then the size will be 2 multiplied by 16, that's 32 pixels. If you are using 3, then it will be 48 pixels, and so on. So how can we change it? If in this HTML tag, the root tag of our document, if I give style font size equal to 20 pixels, and now I give it a size of 2 rems, then this rendered output has a size of 40 pixels. Why? Because now the default size is no longer 16, it has been changed to 20 pixels. So that's how rems and ems work. For example, if I'm using m, let's say, how can I, for this div class div2, div2, let me just say font size to be 30 pixels, and I need to use that rem, right? So I can define something for this para2 class, or the id para2 id dot para2, and here if I give the font size property to be 2m, wait, 1m, I will give it to be 1m, then you can see that this size is substantially increased, because the root element, means the parent element, sorry, the parent element of this para class, this div element here is the parent element, sorry, I have defined its font size is 30 pixels. So the ems work with the parent element and the rems work with the root elements properties. So I'm using one em, so the size rendered will be 30 pixels, because I have defined it here, font size 30 pixels for this div2. So ems and rems we have covered, then inheritance and specificity also. As of now, if you have any doubts, you can use the chat box. If you have any doubts, you can use the chat box here. Either my friend Saurabh will guide you, or I will just address your doubt. Oh yeah, all right. I will just repeat the M's and Rems part. C. Like for this H1 tag, I'm using the font size of 2 rem. Um, we just using this comment. There is rem and there is m. So what is the difference between these two? This very simple. Whatever property is defined for this HTML tag, for in respect to that, the size of rem is used. The default property for the HTML tag is 16 pixels usually. So wherever you are using this tag of rem, like for here, if I use 2 rems, then it will be 2 into 16 equal to 32 pixels of size. But here I specifically changed using the style tag the font size to 20 pixels instead of the usual 16 pixels. I've changed it to the 20 pixels. The 16 is the default one. I've changed it to 20 pixels. That's why for the h1 tag, when I'm using 2 rem, then the root element size now is 20 pixels. So 2 into 20 equal to 40 pixels size is rendered in our output. This one. And what is m? Rem takes the size of the root element and m takes the size of the parent element. Here, like if we use it for this para class, then the m will correspond to the size defined for the body tag. And if I use the m for this para class inside this div with the class of div2, then it will inherit whatever size is there defined for this div class div2. Just as I have written for the div2 font size equal to 30 pixels, in para 2 I'm using the font size of 1m, so it will be just be taking the size of 30 pixels into 1 equal to 30 pixels. For example, I'm just using 2m's here, so that's a massive size of paragraph text, right? So that's 60 pixels of size. Why? Because its parent element, which is this div, if there is no means visible parent, like for this para tag, this h1 tag, this image tags, then their parent is the body tag. And here I this child element of class para2 has a specific parent, this div with class div2, so it's inheriting its size for the m's. Font size 30 pixels, I'm using 2 m's, so it got that size of I've changed it to 1m, so it got the size of 30 pixels. All right, is your doubt resolved? Yeah, all right. Do you have any more doubts, or we can proceed ahead? No, I guess we can proceed ahead. So next we will be covering the display properties, specifically the inline and the block elements. So let's just take one instant. Here we have this paragraph tag, we have the image tags. So what happens if I declare another tag inside this paragraph only? For example, I am just changing that image. I'm removing from here and pasting it here, right? And it's actually a very big image, so I'm just reducing its size. So actually it got very small size, I guess. Wait. All right. So as you can see, I defined this image inside this paragraph tag, and now it is here only. But after this writing of here, this comma ends, then we have this image, and then again this thing starts, right? This quiz, predicate, whatever we say. So why is it happening like that? Because image is an inline element, while if I am not using it in this way, I am just I need to show you one more example. For instance, this h2 class we have, I am in h2. If I just paste it here, then we can see that first we have this paragraph till here, then we have this h2 tags content here, and then we have this whole of a white space without anything, and then in the next line this is starting. So why is it so? I guess if you're familiar or not, you can use this inspect element tag. In this inspect one, if we see the para class, this h2, you can see like it has this blue thing going over from one side of the web page to the other side. It is taking up this much of space because it is a block level element. Block level elements, if we define them inside another, what do we say, another tag, then it will take up a specific part, whatever it has been defined. So it takes a specific piece of a page. It is not like it is adjusting itself, like the image tag was adjusting itself inside this part. It is not adjusting itself. Instead, it makes a whole new place for itself, and then it gets seated here. So that's the difference between image means between the inline and the block level elements. But there's also an option to actually change the. There's one property called the display one. Here we have this class first h2. So wait, what's the issue? First h2. Let's just. Why is it not working in a ways? I guess yeah. Sorry. So now here we can see what's happening. I defined it explicitly that I'm using the display inline for this h2. So after this space, it is not like it's taking a whole bunch of a place for itself. It is here adjusting itself, and then we again have our paragraph tag running from here. And we can also use it in the reverse way. Like here I had defined this h2 tag. I'll just remove it from here, and again I will just get our image to its place. As of now we can see that yes, the image is here. It is an inline element as of now, but here if inside this image tag I use the display of block. Then, due to this definition, the image tag becomes a block level element. See, the image tag which was not having any other extra space before is now taking up a whole bunch of a line. So this is the way we deal with inline and block level element. There's another a bit advanced thing, the inline block thing. We are not covering it here due to a bit of time constraint. So as of now, for the inline and the block level elements, do you have any doubt? You can use the chat box to ask before we proceed any further. I guess there's no doubt for the inline and the block level element. So there are a lot of online resources available where you can read about them, and there are a whole bunch of elements which are like by default inline. There are a whole bunch of other elements which are by default block level elements, like this h tags h1 to h6. They are the block level elements. On the other hand, the span, the anchor tags, the image tags, they are what we say the inline elements. So usually you can refer to either W3 schools or another this thing like this MDN, what we say Mozilla Developer Network, and W3 schools. I would recommend that you follow any one of them. Both work fine. Here, like in this MDN doc, you are getting a list of all the inline elements that you can get, also all the block level of elements you have. So I would say that don't just keep like stacked up where we left you. You need to check and read about them in description and details by yourself. So now we will proceed further. If you have any doubts, you can just use the chat box. If none, then we will move forward. All right, so another important topic which we are covering is the media queries now. So like wait, I'll just get this image to default one. Media queries itself is a very vast topic. I need to mention it at the start. So we are not getting into the very depth of media queries due to a bit of time constraint, but we will look at how media query actually works. I'll just get the doc to its original place. So here, like this is my desktop screen, right? It has, what do I say, a 15.6 inch screen. It has specific dimension of pixels. What happens if I have something else like this? This is another one of the inspect element properties. I'm like, what do I say, wait, I'm using this responsive thing to see what my website would look on different devices of different widths and dimensions, like from 56 to 1332 pixels I'm using. So we have defined our properties for one specific set, but we can change it so that it looks different for different um, UI or different screens that we are using. And that's what one basic aspect of being responsive website is. So let's just see how it works. Let's say I'll take one mobile screen. Let's say the Samsung Galaxy S8. So it has this width of 360 pixels with a height of 740 pixels. And here, like, there's a lot of white space I'm getting, and the text is like this. So what can we do? We can just go to our style.css file. Here we need to mention @media, then inside first bracket I'm writing max width equal to 360 pixels. For that, what will happen? Let's say I'm just changing some properties. Here, the H1, I have given the text align as center. Here, again, I need to define that tag, and only the properties I want, like these properties should explicitly be changed under these media queries when the max width is 360 pixels. I need to write only them here. I can give the font size here as 1 rem. So that's what we are getting as output. That for the normal size, this is the output. But when we are reducing the size, then for this instance, for this 360 pixels, we are getting this one size of font size of 1 rem. Again, I can like define another properties, like here I have defined it as text align center. If I want it to be same, I don't means it's not needed that I'm defining it again inside the media queries. But if I want it to be different, then I have to define it here. Samsung Galaxy.
So
Wait.
this guy you use max with colon not equal to. I think that is causing the error. Yes, colon.
Oh yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I was like thinking, what's there? Yeah. Thanks a lot. So just we can see here that for this screen, the max width of 360 pixels, I defined the properties that the font size would be 1 rem and the text align would be at the right. So here we are getting that output. For this device, when we are using it like above 360, then again it's on its place. 2 rem at the center. It's a 350 responsive one, then it's at the right. Again, we can define it for the min width part also. If it has a minimum width of, I would say 300, I would say let's 400 pixels, then I would define the size as 3 rem and text align to the left. Wait, H1 min width 400 pixels. So as of now we are on 200 on 330. It is following what we had written uh, before only, like the text align center font size 2 rem. It is following that only. Text align center font size 2 rem. We are at 372 pixels. Now we are at 400, and here we can see it is at 2 rem size, and it is at the left. It's aligned to the left as we had defined. So Media queries itself is a very vast concept. We are not getting into the depth. I would still recommend that you like check it out on MDA and on W3 schools and on YouTube to know more about it. Here we just saw two instances of minimum width and maximum width. Like if any screen has a minimum width of 400 pixels and above that, then what properties we need to change. If it has a minimum or a maximum width of, I would say, 400 pixels, then those devices which have a width of less than 400 pixels, how the properties would render. So those two instances we saw here, and there are a lot more things like the screen using the print using. We can also, just one more thing I want to mention, like we can use the nested part also, like not nested, but we can define multiple what do I say, conditions for this media also. Like I am giving minimum width of 400 pixels, and I also want that it should be only for maximum width of 700 pixels. So now we have this 400 pixels inside this first bracket and 700 pixels also, and we are using this and between this. So only those devices which have like this width between 400 pixels to 700 pixels, this styling would be implemented. Like I'm at 250, when I'm at 400, it got at the left aligned. Then again, when I just cross 700, it got aligned to the center. So that's one very, what word I would say, a very basic aspect of media queries. I would recommend you that you check it out yourself. If you have any doubt, you can just write in the chat box. We'll address to that. Well, all right. So I think no one has any doubts. So from here on, my friend Olindam will take over.
Yeah, yes,
Olindam?
Jyotiska. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. I guess my screen is visible, right? Hello.
Yes. Yes. Your
Okay,
screen
okay.
is visible.
Yeah, okay, okay. So, Jyotiska already did a good part in explaining most of the important concepts about CSS. So, for a beginner, I would say that amount of concepts will be okay enough for getting started to build a basic front page of a website. But there are some more concepts like flexbox and grid and all. That will be that will make your development of a front page much more easier. So we're gonna do the flexbox thing and much some more concepts. So let's begin. I'm opening VS Code editor, and let's make an HTML file, naming it flexbox.html. This is the VS Code's feature of getting the boilerplate very fast by using shift plus that exclamation. So I'm for demonstrating you the flexbox thing. I'm doing what making a div, actually a parent div, and giving the class. For giving a class to an element, we use dot for class and hash for ID. So if I write div hash main, I get an element div of ID main. So you can see it's a shortcut and it saves you a lot of time. I need a class, so I write div dot main. I got a class. So inside this div, I want around 8 boxes, 8 more divs. So I write div dot. I want it to have class of name box 1, 2, 3, and so on. So instead of writing individually, I write box then dollar. Dollar will do what? When I write this thing, dollar will itself give you 1, 2, 3 in serial way. So I need around 8 boxes. So I multiply with 8 and then enter. This is the power of VS Code. So this thing is very nice. It saves you a lot of time. So I got 8 boxes inside a main container. You can write even write box 1, box 2, and so on to make it more clear. Yeah, we're done. Then we go to the extension like server. I think yesterday Vinayak told about this one. You can install it after going to extension tab here and search for like server. Yeah, this Retweak day one is okay enough, good enough. So you can install that. I have already installed. Then you click here, go live, as you can see here. Sometimes it doesn't show up here. You can just right click and click on open with live server. Okay, I'm doing that. I got as you can see 8 boxes. You can inspect, then click this one selector, and you can see this is a div. It's a block level element, as Jyotish already said. So it's containing the whole space. If it were an inline, it will have only this. It will be occupying only this box one space. So we got 8 boxes inside an parent element. So now we do what? Sorry. Yeah. So we want to have these boxes aligned in a row like way, right, from left to right. I'm doing what? I'm writing this CSS here itself so that it will be easier for you to see. You can write style CSS, internal CSS like this. So I am targeting the main box. I'm by writing like this, I'm targeting the main class, the div with the main class. So I want each of its element to have. I want to make this div element make its display flex. So I write display flex. So you can see the elements will be get aligned like this. It is not clear, so I'll give them border and heights and all. Give the main box some border. You can define border like border, then each width. I'm giving it 2 pixel. Then what kind of border you want? If you want solid, you can give solid or dotted as well. If you can use dotted for dotted. Then what color you want? I am giving red. So we get a border of red 2 pixel. You can even give width and height to it. I'm giving it around 80%. Yeah, and height around 400 pixel size. Yeah. Let's do one thing. Get all these boxes with the same class box, and select each of the boxes by using the class tag, class selector dot box, and giving the same border. Let's give it black border. And some width around 10%. So fine. Yeah, it is looking okay. Let's to give margin so that we can distinctly get distinct boxes so that we can see everything around 10 pixel in each side. Yeah, we got margin around 10 pixel from each side. We got 8 boxes under a parent container. So the thing about Flexbox is you get you can align the boxes according to your need. It is now aligned in a row way. Default is when we define flex, display flex, we get the flex boxes in the items, I mean, in a row way. You can even do something like in the main container, you can here write flex direction. In default, we get row. You can write here column. You'll get this in column way. You can write column reverse. You'll get in the opposite order. See, from the bottom you're getting. Earlier you were getting from the top. So you can manipulate these things and get your desired result very fast. Uh, if you're not using Flexbox, it would have been very difficult. So this is some, and I'm going to give you tell about some properties of Flexbox as well. This is one of them. Then there's something called in each individual box. Suppose we had a class ID here. ID is equal to box1. I'm targeting the box1 ID, so I need to write here hash, not a dot, because hash is for ID and dot is for classes. Right? I'm writing hash box, and I can write here like flex row and string. These are some VS Code. The good thing about VS Code is you can get all the properties by writing it's only the flex part. The rest will automatically pop up. So this is very helpful. You can write flex grow, and you can write here 2 for say. So the box one will grow in a very in greater than the rest of the boxes when you write flex grow. So you can, if you want, you can go to ambient docs or W3 codes to get more about flex boxes. So W3, you can learn about properties here. If you suppose say you forgot about some properties, you can take help from here. Here everything is written. So one more property I forgot to mention is flex wrap. So when I write flex wrap, I get something like this. So earlier you can see when we have the full width. Yeah. So when the width is full, means bigger than the HTML, then means I mean the parent tag. All the elements are coming in a straight line. So if it gets smaller, the element will wrap itself. So the element that couldn't fit up in the up are coming in the down. So it will continue like this. So this is the power of Flexbox. So if any of you have any queries, you can write here. Or else we can proceed further. Okay, let's proceed. I'm commenting these things like for now because we're done with Flexbox, right? Then we come to something called, I guess, yeah. We go to something called transition and transform properties. We make a div. We want basically a square. Div dot box. Right here, I am a square. I'm a square. Then target is box with a dot box because it is a class. I'm writing a dot box, right? So I want to make it a square, so I give it width of around mm, 400 pixels and height of around 400 pixels. Yeah. And background color to make it distinct. For writing background color, I don't need to write background the every letter. I simply write BG color or BT. I get a pop-up. Let's make it aqua. I'm getting a square. Let's make the text align center. Yeah. I want something like to demonstrate transition and transform. I want to make, first of all, for transition, I want to, when I hover the cursor over this box, I want to make its color change, or I want its width and height to decrease. So for that, so I have already written the box properties, right, of the box class. We need to write, now for the hover, we can write something like that, dot box, state of hover. So we write colon hover. What we want to do it when we have hover activated. So we write, we want to change this color. So make it background color to the color we want to change to. So we want red. So when I hover over here, I get a abrupt change of from aqua to red. So it's an abrupt change. No, it is changing instantaneously. So what I want is, I want to change this color in a like a smooth way, right? For that, I want to make its property transition to red. So I write transition. What property I want to change? Background. Wait, I should have written here color, background color. I want to change the background color. I have to write a transition property on the main box itself. You can define here the duration you want. So first of all, I'm writing the property I want to change, means act the transition upon that property. In our case, it is background color. And here in the next property, we define the amount of time it takes to change. So I'm giving it 0.5 seconds. So it will change to red in 0.5 seconds. So if I were to write here 4 seconds, it will take a lot of time. You can see it is changing very slowly. So this is transition property. I can here even write easy, something ease like ease in out. Ease in, first of all, ease in. So first of all, it will take a very much amount of time to change, then it will change abruptly. So this is about transition. We again had something called let's comment it out. Now upon hover, I want to transform, means I want to do something like I want to rotate this box around 90 degrees. So I can write here transform. Because I'm writing it wrong. So I forgot actually how to write transform properties. So I need to take help from the web. So I'm writing here transform CSS W3, and I get this best website you can refer to. So when I need to transform an object, I write transform about a property, rotate, then how many measures I want to rotate. In this case, it is 20 degree. So I write, I was doing a mistake here. Yes. Here I have to write rotate, right? So you need to take help from the web. It is not possible to remember everything, right? So you can see it got rotated by 90 degrees. At 40 degrees, it will get rotated by 40. So this is transform property. Here you also have many much more properties like skew and all. You can refer here. skew. Here you can see it got skewed by 20 degrees in y direction. So this was about transform property, right? Then we can go to something called a box model. I think Jyotiska forgot to mention about it. For that, let's inspect the web page and come to the bottom of this console. Not console actually, this thing I forgot. So you go there and you can get in this image. So it is denoting the box model of every HTML element. So we have, when we have an element like this one is an element div, so it has around three main thing. First, the content will be this one. Around that, there will be padding. Padding is the distance between the letters and the border. Okay, so you can see here, this is the padding, distance between the border and the main content. So you can give the padding. If I increase the padding, this thing will come uh, inside, more inside, right? Then we have border. Border will be, I already mentioned about the border. The border is this main generic thing, right? Then outside the border we have margin. The margin is the distance between any two HTML elements. Suppose we have two div, so the margin will be the distance between the borders of the both the elements. So this was the box model of CSS or HTML, I suppose. Then we come to something called cross browser problems. This is something like when we have multiple browsers, right? We have Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Opera. So each of the browser comes with their own style sheets. Like they come with default style sheets. Here we are writing the style sheet here in style under the style tag. It gets, the browser already comes in a default. So we get means like the browser will have the font size and the margin and all mentioned already. So sometimes when we the different browsers have different margins and all row margins, font sizes and all, they have different measures of that. So when we define our CSS for different browsers, we get different results. So that is not feasible, right? Because if we were to use the website in another browser, we get different results. So to tackle that problem, we do something called CSS reset. First of all, I can show you the thing. Yeah. You can see here, body is user agent style sheet. This thing is the default style sheet that gets shipped to the browser by default. Here margin is always 8 pixel. For Chrome, margin is 8 pixel and display properties block of the body. So this is the default. You can refer to, you can see for default style sheets of Chrome. You can search if you want to see. Here you can see for Chrome. Here the properties are mentioned of Chrome browser. Line height is normal, font size is medium. These are this comes by default for the particular browser. So for changing that, tackling that problem I mentioned earlier, we do something called CSS reset. So that all the browsers we are working on get the same amount of measurements. So for CSS reset, we are selecting all the tags, right? So we have use star to target all the elements, body, HTML, everything. So we write star then curly brackets. Under it, we do margin. Earlier it was 8 pixel by default. We change it to 0 pixel. 0 pixel or every unit. So we simply write 0 here. Then also we do the same to padding. 0. Also, all the elements, when by default, suppose we define the width of the element to be 100 pixel. So this margin and border will be extra of that 100 pixel we mentioned earlier. So 100 plus something. So we don't want that. We want our width to have the margin and border content inside it. So we write here box sizing border box. So these three uh, lines will basically do the job of doing CSS reset. There are much more complicated cross-browser problems, so we are not tackling all those. So if you guys have any queries, you can write here. Or else we can move on to the website, right? Start making some of the things over there. Cool. So let's move on to the website that Vinayak was making yesterday. Let me open it. It was not looking very good, no, because all the elements were not correctly sized and all. Because it's just a pure HTML. We now have to size it according to our need using CSS. Actually, this doesn't have to be static, right? Because the website had this animation. So we changed the static file to one of the file. You'll get actually you'll get the file. I'm just changing the file for now. Let's change the file under the main content in the image section. Yes, it is gdsexplore.svc. We want the GIF file, so we write GIF. We get the animation. Chrome supports GIF file, so we got the animation right away. Now I want to have the navbar. I'm just gonna compare against the original website and try to replicate. It will not be possible to replicate exactly, right, because of limited time. So I'm just gonna try to demonstrate some of the things we discussed earlier. So first I want a navbar, and the cool thing about this navbar is sticky, right? Because it is sticking above the all the time. It also has here shadow like feature, right? It looks cool. We are going to make this. Also on a hover, we can see the color changes to blue, right? So for start, let's make it. I'm going to make one style sheet, style.css. Then I link the CSS file here under the head tag. And start writing the CSS. First of all, as you remember, I told something about the cross-browser problems. So I'm going to first do CSS reset to tackle that problem. I'm going to change box sizing to border box, then padding and margin to 0. Then start building the website. I'm going to have multiple windows so that it becomes easier. to just see from here, write a text, write a style here. First of all, in the navbar section, I'm going to make this image smaller. I'm going to target that. I have to now target that tag, right? So where is that tag? Under the nav left div, we have image tag. So I dot nav left. Under it, I have to target img. I write something like this, dot nav left. Under it, I have the image tag. So I write this. Then I want its width to be smaller, around 20 VW. I'm going to tell about this unit. VW is something like it's relative. It's a relative unit, of course. It's relative to 1% of the viewport width. So viewport width is from here to here. It will be relative to 1% of this width. So that is the thing. It is 20 times 1% of this width. And we also have viewport height, VH. That is viewport is this height. So 1% relative to 1% of this height. We're gonna need to have smaller than this. So around like a 6 feet W will do the job. Yeah, looks fine enough. Then I'm going to use flexbox here. There are multiple ways you can use flexbox, and there are multiple ways basically. The flexbox is the mainly used. So we demonstrated flexbox, so we're gonna use it here. So I want these items to be aligned in a row-like manner, right? So I'm going to use flexbox. So in the parent container, I am going to makes its display property flex. So the parent is navbar. So I write navbar here and make it display property flex. And how do we do that? We write a display flex. Right. You can see the elements got arranged in a row-like manner, but these things didn't because it was under a separate div tag. We have to make that div again flex. So these two div we have to make flex again. So we're going to target those things all at once by using comma. We're gonna need to have this links tab and nav left. Dot nav left and comma dot links. So everything got aligned in a row-like manner. Now we want to have space, right? So in the nav left, outermost navbar, we want to align the item center, justify content center, and justify not center, actually it's space between, because we want to one space evenly. Yeah, one space evenly. And we this thing, because we only mention align items to this one, not this one. I need to do that. Aligned line item center. Fine enough. Let's do one thing for doing this shadow thing and all. First, let's make give it a border for now. Later on, we'll remove that border. 1 pixels on solid red. We want to have the navbar. We want to give it more height. So let's give it more height, around 20 VH. Now I am using viewport height, not VW, because I'm giving this height to, means I'm giving this measure to a height property, right? This going to need lesser. Around 10 will do the job. So now we want to give the background of it to white, because we want to make it sticky. And it is now not sticky because we didn't mention the property yet. And for defining the display property sticky. Not display, it's a position sticky. We have different positions: static, sticky, then I guess it's absolute and relative. Yeah, sticky. It is not doing because we have to mention one more property after defining position sticky. That is a top, and top is the margin top. How much we want? We want 0. So now you can see it is sticky, right? Looks good enough. Now we want to have the border shadow, this thing. For that we have a property called box shadow. Then the different measures, I'm simply gonna give 8 pixel and 10 pixel, and the color of it, color I am choosing gray. I think it is much more darker than we want. Pick the color using the color picker. Make it light. Make it more lighter. This looks good. I have to change the border to the default white and make this thing good looking. So commenting out this border, and we have to make this black and remove the underline. For that, under the links, yeah, I have to again write links class, and under it write what we want. Like we want to not have any underline anything. So text decoration none. Links not link. Color black. I want to have links, then every tag, a tag, anchor tag. So I write here a. Now it will work. Also, we want to have some space in between those. So we write, we can give margin actually around in top around 0 pixel. We want in no margin of in top, just in x direction. So write 4 pixel. Looks good enough, I guess. More. One thing we forgot actually, I have to take a different font because it default don't look good. I'm going to inspect and see what font was used over here. So when I hover and select, when I hover here, I get font Poppins and serif. So I need to search basically Poppins font. And the best thing to get font is Google Fonts. So you can get any font you like from Google Fonts. You go there. Then I search Poppins, so it got popped. So and how do we link get the font to your website? You come here, then copy this link thing. Everything you copy, right? You copy this and paste on the head, under the head of the HTML. Same like linking CSS file. Now we want to use that particular font. So font family is Poppins sans serif. Under the stack, we're going to just copy paste this font family. Font family is Poppins. Now this font is same as this, so it's looking good enough. And we want to have this bolder, this text. We want to make the font weight bold. Font weight bold. And upon hover, I want its color to get changed to the, yeah, here. Wait, it was blue, right? So I want to change it to blue. So for the writing hover classes, we write like dot links, same class upon which we want to have the effect, right? Colon hover, then start writing the properties we want to apply upon hover. So we want each color to get changed to something lighter than blue. It was not blue. Yeah, we want to have lighter blue. I guess around this will work. So as you can see, when I hover upon the text, the color changes to blue. Same as this. I want to have it more lighter. Working fine. Then same thing here. We want to use flexbox because I want this thing, this animation to come here. Earlier it was in like a column like fashion. I want to have it in a row. Coming ending this thing, this navbar. It's a good thing to comment your codes because another person, if he looks into a code, he'll be having a hard time finding the mistake or thing. So it's a nice way to comment your codes so that it will be easier for the other person to see. So coming to the main content part, this is the main content. I'm going to comment again. Then see what we need to do now. We're gonna do make this outer div as display flex so that the inner elements gets in a row like fashion. So the outer div is named itself outer div. So outer div the class. So I'm using dot. If it were a id, I would have used hash. Then in outer div we want to have display, make it display flex. You can see that it got aligned, but the margins are not properly given. So this is in up. You can do one thing right here, justify content and center and align item center. Now it's okay enough. We want to have left margin here so that this comes to right, and you may give some width to this block. So this is the div under which the paragraph was there. Inner div content. So dot inner div content. I want to give some width to it around 50%. I think will do the job. Inner div 50% and more or less than 50%. Okay enough now. We will have to change these colors and font sizes respectively. First of all, let's do this, target this thing and increase its size, right? ZDS Explorer. Earlier the class was not mentioned, so I'm just simply giving it a class like ZDSC. I'm going to target that element by writing the parent class dot inner div content, and under it I have to change this ZDSC Explorer's font and other properties, right? So I will target this by writing dot ZDSC and define the properties. So I will do increase its font size and make it bold. Font size, I want to make it around 2.5 rem. I have to give it bigger. 3.5. It's a nice thing to use. Avoid using pixels in font sizes and all, because it becomes hard to maintain a uniform font sizes when you use pixel. This color is gray and this is blue, so we have to change the color as well and make this line font of this line smaller, or else we can directly target the H1 tag here. It will look more cleaner. Then same way I am giving class name Fort here, div dot Fort. I guess Fort will not work because I'm giving number. I simply write dates here. Div dot dates and make it font size smaller, around 2 rem. This will work fine. Then coming to this line. Oh, I was usually actually writing code for this line, so we'll have to do color for that line. Change this color to blue. It is quite big. It's more smaller, zero point 0.6 rem. Point 8 will do the work. Same with this. Not giving class not. Targeting that paragraph, H1 tag, and size, giving it some size around 1 rem. 1 will be much more smaller. 1.5 rem. Looks good enough, and changing its color to gray. Font color. There's nothing called font color. I made a mistake here. This red color. This will do the job. Make the bloom lighter. Now coming to the buttons, right? I want to have a hover effect that we learned earlier to apply to this button. Coming to these two buttons under the buttons class, I will give them classes button 1 and button 2. So btn1 and btn2. Targeting this both by writing dot btn1 comma dot btn2 and giving them padding and all. First of all, let's give them height and width. around 40 pixel. Increase it. You can inspect here and see the actual amount of padding and all we want by changing here and seeing the result at the same time. Then copy that measure. This will do the job. So I'm copying the properties and pasting here. Now I want to have the give some border radius here. So the edges look smooth. So I'm writing here border radius around 6 pixels. So it got 6 pixel border radius. Then make it font a bit bigger. And then and give it margin. So as I said earlier, margin is the distance between two respective tags or elements. So in between these two lines, I want to have space. So I can give margin like around 30 pixel and 40 pixel. Let's see. This is in y direction. This is in x direction. So this is some standard. So this is in y direction. I'm making the x direction margin smaller. This will, it's looking great. Changing the color to the same color we used here. Yeah, let's copy that and paste here. Actually, we want white color, no? So it's background color here. Background color. Make the lighter. And make the color white. We want to no, we don't want any shadow, so we write box shadow none. So box decoration. Let's make the border color a bit dark blue. Border 2 pixel solid blue. Let's make the border radius smaller. 4 pixel will look great. Now I want to change, have hover effect over this button. Not only this button will do. So I have to give some more classes here. So I want a button 2 to have a hover class. So I'm writing .btn2 colon hover. Then I have to change the color and background color. So I want background color as white and color as blue. So you can see his, but it is not a smooth change like this one. We have to make it smooth. So use Same thing we discussed earlier, that is transition. So we write transition. We have to write transition property in the parent. Transition. Which property we want to transition? That is color. Time around zero point 0.4 second will do, and is keynote. Same thing with background color. So I'm just copy pasting it. Background color. So this is nice. I can make the font size bolder here. Font weight bold, not size. Now it's okay enough. So I guess it will be okay to just leave it up to here, because it will not be possible to entirely make the website. So we can do one thing. You guys can try making the rest of the website look like this one, the original one. So that will be a good exercise, because it is not possible to show everything in one session itself. So I guess this is it will be end from my side. Anirudh? I guess I can wrap this session. So we can end this meeting here. You guys do one thing. You guys, the rest of the thing, you'll get a part of today in a Google Drive or something. So you can just practice the topics taught today, or get help if you want by contacting us. So you can just practice the things and get an hands-on experience. So have a good day.